Welcome to another episode of the Live Happy, Healthy, and Inspired podcast. The podcast all about inspiring good health, living life fully, and chasing your dreams. In this episode of Live Happy, Healthy, and Inspired, we're joined by therapist and founder of Breathe into Peace, Claire Wu. Claire dives deep into how to get over your shit and start thriving in life. From practical tips for releasing anxiety through breath work to mindset shifts that will help you break free from limiting beliefs, this episode is packed with actionable advice. After listening to this episode, you'll better understand how to use breathwork to relieve anxiety and stay calm in stressful situations, discover the mindset shifts needed to let go of your limiting beliefs and move forward, gain practical tools for getting over your shit and thriving through life's challenges. Make sure to listen all the way to the end when Claire shares her most valuable piece of advice that could be the game changer for your personal growth. Welcome, everybody. Here we are again, another episode of Happy, Healthy, and Inspired. And today, coming to us from Australia, I have Claire. Claire, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Brad. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I think it's a good day. From the Australian term is how are you doing? That means good day.
Good day. Yeah. I spent some of my time in Australia, so I know a little bit of Australian English. But when I was there, it was definitely different from American English. So I had to get my translator out a little bit. But we didn't have Google
Mm,
Translate back then. But
mm,
anyway, we were talking off camera a little bit, and I say, I'm always like looking for guests and everything, and somehow, some way, your profile came across my plate. And I saw one of
mm,
your posts, and I'm like, I've got to reach out to her and get her on the
mm.
show. And it is in regards to your book. So I want to read this because I love it. And I think my listeners will get a crack out of it. But you're working on a book, and it's called Get
Yes.
Over Your Shit. I'll just say that. It's a story about healing and thriving in life, even when shit happens to you, because it happens to everybody. And so then you write, you can find ways to overcome them and build an aligned and successful life. So let's dive in and talk about that. How do we deal with the bleep, the shit that happens in our life, and how do we continue to thrive after that? Let's start from there and go from there.
Oh, well, it's a big topic. So the idea of because I suffer from anxiety from age 12. I spent a lot of time, money, effort trying to recover. So coming from a very traditional Asian academic family, we lived in the US, Europe, in Southeast Asia, and then in
Oh,
the end,
wow.
my parents, they moved back to Asia because they prefer the lifestyle there, whereas I immigrated to Australia. So I immigrated around 8 years ago. The ideas behind that shit happen is that
I love that.
bad things happen. Yes, I like this language as well. Um, it's basically events that are unexpected or too big or too quick or too soon that's happened to us that we can't handle when we're younger, or when we're in adulthood, that sort of left a big impact on us, and it somewhat affected us, and it affected our nervous system. It affected us, achieving what we want. And the book is about overcoming those things that has happened while you are pursuing a life that you actually wanted, that you feel aligned and authentic with. So um how do I say it? Like, I think the book is a little bit between, like, a bit of like a biography plus personal development. I'm sure a lot of you who are listening to me this has try to read a lot of books, go to a lot of personal development seminars, workshops, sessions, classes, and a lot of us, especially for a lot of women, that we have trouble, we have difficulty overcoming the challenges that's happened to us. So an example that I had was that when I was young, so I didn't have anxiety until I was age 12. So it was really interesting. yeah, when I was, doing a lot of therapy and counseling and all this, sessions to heal, to recover, and with the chronic pain as well, is that I
Can I
realized
ask?
that there
I'm
was,
sorry. Can I jump in and
yes.
just ask Claire? Was that a result of
Mm.
like kind of the cultural upbringing? I know Asian cultures are really, like you said, strict on academics and things like that.
Yes, yes. But this is interesting because before that, so before age 12, I was living in the US. So it was quite a carefree and very liberal, open
Mm,
times. And then we returned to Southeast Asia when I was 13. And this is where my parents start to change. So they attitude towards academic and performance became really much about that elitism, and competitions and comparison. So it's before that time they were like, you can do whatever you want, you can climb the tree, you can sing in the park, you
mm,
can play volleyball as much as you want, and then as long as you're happy. Whereas that environment change, I'm not saying that this is particularly happening in Southeast Asia, but it's very common. It's because that environment creates a lot of anxiety. So if you think about an environment that is constantly comparing you to other people,
yeah.
you're constantly being, yeah, being gossip, being rumored, or being talked down of whatever that you're doing. And thirdly is that, the only way to succeed is through academic performance. So that, you kind of become someone that you are not originally, or not, you're not aligned with anymore. And it happened to all of us. I don't believe it's just happened in Southeast Asia, because during my traveling, so I lived in the US, in Europe, Singapore, Australia, and I've met a lot of different people across, the Caucasians, Southeast Asians, South
Mm,
Americans, from everywhere. And I noticed the trend that if they are suffering from anxiety, or they have, is all related somewhat to trauma, and that's what we call the shit that is here.
yeah.
And it's somewhat related to their family and upbringing. That's,
Mm.
yeah, that's not a very friendly environment. Mm.
Just real quick. This is an off question, but what part of Southeast Asia?
Yeah, so I in Taiwan. Mm.
Oh, Taiwan. Okay. I'm familiar with Southeast Asia. I lived and traveled there for many years. Yeah. But so you relocated back to Southeast Asia, developed some anxieties. So the trauma, the shit that happened. And so how have you learned to break through that,
Mm.
overcome that, and move beyond that? And how can other people who have similar issues, how can they learn from you?
Yeah, so there are different trauma, and I think to heal trauma, you have different strategies. So I could probably give an example of, there was, there was a trauma where I was feeling, not good enough, not lovable. And that is a very common conditioning for a lot of people. So when I was 18, I was considering suicide, and
Oh,
that at the time I got into medical school, but it was a really controlled life. It was an elite school, but then I had no friends, I had no community, I had a very controlling parents, that led me down, becoming suicidal. So then I went up to the school rooftop. I wanted to run towards the end, and then I was seeking, relief from the pain that I had. Then at the middle of the roof, I stopped. I paused. So something pulled me back. It was something that was greater than me, and it told me to get help. You can recover, but you need to get help. So after that, I started, counseling and therapy. I think those are critical, and really helpful sessions. But also, I encountered breath work and nervous system regulation. So that breath work session, where it was called like a breakthrough breath work, it it teach me how to connect my breath to my mind, and it's somewhat, when I started doing it, the breath has its own spirit where I'm no longer controlling the breath. It's like the breath has its own spirit. It's moving on its own, and it somewhat pushes the spirit back into me. Like it pushes my spirit back, because at the time I was depressed, anxious, I was suicidal, and then somewhat I think my spirit is somewhere else. It's I feel like I'm no longer myself. But when I have that breath work session, yeah, the spirit of breath was pushed back into me, and I was feeling I have hope again. Like I'm able to control my life. I am the creator of my reality. I am able to make things happen, despite the environment was at odds, despite the environment was toxic. I know that I have control over my life, and I can take control and, turn my dreams into reality. So it was um, a really breakthrough moment. Yeah.
And how did you keep moving forward then? What I guess what did the breath work do for you then that helped you to move forward or break through? I guess specifically, like did it cure your anxiety or did it cure your trauma or?
So what it does is that and this is actually backed up by a lot of research from Stanford University and Macquarie University. I think the breath work, what it does at the time, I didn't understand, but I just know that this modality is helping me to connect my body and my mind and my
Mhm.
spirit. But it was later on throughout my studies in breath work and other modality like Pilates, like nervous system reset. I started to realize that it was all about feeling everything, feeling everything of your body, of your mind, of your emotions. So there's all saying that it was, to feel is to heal. In order to heal, you need to feel. And in a
Oh,
way that, whatever modality that you're using, I know there is all kinds of modality in healing, but especially the one that is really somatic, very body based. It is around, yeah, connecting your body to your feeling and to be fully experiencing that feeling. Doesn't matter if it's anxiety, sadness, happiness, excitement.
mm,
Um, it will help you move forward, because when you connect to how you feel, you are able to make a decision or a choice that is aligned with what you actually want to do. So as odd as it sounds, when you get stressed or anxious, like to feel all of that,
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of us might want to escape, like through alcohol, binge eating, through work,
Yeah,
through
some
sex,
some
through other things. Yeah.
yeah, some
Yeah.
people do that. Yeah. So when you say connect to your feeling, what I guess I'm having a hard time following that. So you mean like just be aware of how you're feeling, like if you're feeling anxious or sad or nervous or something, or is that what you mean? Or
Yes, yes, to be aware of how you feel
okay.
and experience that, not running away, but also finding ways to help you. Um, how do I say? Like the more you are in that feeling. So what happens is, like when we get stressed or anxious, we try to do other things to distract ourselves, like getting on social media, eating, or working. But if we just sit in that feeling, can be in a breath work, can be in meditation session, we sit with that feeling and then notice that that is the body signal for us to notice and to take action. It could be to
Okay.
remove the things that make us feel anxious, or remove ourselves from the person, or remove ourselves from the environment. And then that helps us to make a decision or a choice to take the next step, to do something that actually helps us to relieve that anxiety. Mm.
It's kind of like I like to use metaphors like the check engine light is coming on, then, so to speak. Like if you're driving your car, you see the check engine light, you know that you need to pay attention to that. So if you're sitting with your feeling and you realize, okay, it's let's just say anxious anxiety, because that's one that a lot of people I know struggle with. Now all of a sudden you're noticing that, and now you've got to pay attention and do something about that. What are some steps then? Um, to, I guess, regulate? Like you mentioned earlier about nervous system regulation. That's something I'm studying a lot about now, reading Joe Dispenza's books. But how can someone like begin to like release the anxiety and I don't know, replace it with joy? Maybe then that nervous system regulation.
Yeah, so one simple thing that you can do is through your breath. So when you feel stressed or anxious, it's good to just pause. Pause meaning that you take a bit of time and a space between you and your anxiety. So you pause and then you focus on your breath, which we usually recommend start off with like a straw breathing. So you can, breathing naturally through your nose and then you breathe out through your mouth like you're blowing into a straw,
All
and
right.
that for around 8 seconds. And then you breathe in again through your nose. And then you can repeat that through 3 to 5 times, up to 10 times. And that would actually, because with the exhalation, it actually activate the vagus nerve and slow down your heart rate and calm the nervous system. Yeah. So instead of, thinking, how do I change this? How do I find a way? How do I, instead of going into overthinking or trying to resolve the issue, it's important to just pause and take a few breaths with the stroke breathing and let your body actually helps you to calm the body and the mind. Mm.
Yeah, I've always liked to say that the cure for stress is breath.
Mm.
That's
Yes.
something I came up with years ago. But yeah, breathing is incredibly important for calming us down. So okay? So I've done the breathing, I've done the straw breathing. That's a good metaphor too. I've never heard that metaphor of a straw. I'm calm. How is it possible to shift that feeling of anxiety to one of peace then, or how can I transition that? How can I guess, or how can someone, I guess, eliminate the anxiety altogether? Is that possible, or?
Yes, I think anxiety. So this is really interesting because a lot of people, and especially our clients, and when I was younger as well, I want to get rid of anxiety. I think if that doesn't exist, my life will be happy. But the actual circumstances that anxiety is actually part of our lives. Just like shit is actually part of our life, like you can't really avoid it, but it's learning to have a better relationship with it and to learn how to live with that. So in a way that, how am I going to transform my anxiety is that it's just a state, it's just an emotion and a feeling state. So it's a very high energy state, but it's not very comfortable. So in order to move your state, we try to move it from, uh, so it's not very comfortable, but it's very high energy. So we want to shift that into more pleasurable emotions like excitement or like feeling really strong. It sounds a bit odd, but they are actually neighboring feelings and emotions. If you had a look, if you can actually look up like emotion metrics, so you've got the metrics full of different emotions, and on the scale of 0 to 100, from very unpleasant to very pleasant, from very low energy to very high energy. Understanding that the anxiety sits at the that's really this side on the left top spectrum. We want to move, you don't necessarily have to move that energy down. Um, you can move it to more pleasurable. So when you're in that moment, you can do your deep breath, do your straw breathing, and then you can do something that you actually enjoy to shift that to something a bit more exciting, a bit more thrilling. And that's one way to do it. Um, for example, if I am preparing for a workshop and I'm getting really anxious and I'm like writing all the script, recording the videos, and I'm still feeling that, heart beeping really fast. And I want to do something that I enjoy. So I'll go for a walk, um, or I will go for a swim. So that just help me shift that, you know, that sort of restlessness into something more pleasant. And once you do something, actually the energy of that emotion will come down a little bit. Yeah. So another way to do it is to reduce the level of the energy of that emotion. So a lot of time, that's why physical exercise is highly recommended for people with anxiety, like mild to moderate exercise. So like going for a jog, or going for a swim, or going for a fast brisk walk, that will help to shift that high energy to a more medium, lower energy. Yeah. But yeah, it's to understand anxiety in a way it's not bad. It will pass. It's a state, and you have the power to shift it. Mm.
Do you still battle or deal with anxiety today?
Uh, I still have anxiety. Like I'm a human, so I still have
Yeah.
anxiety.
I mean, does
I
it control you though, I guess, or
Yes, that's the difference. So I
mm,
believe, well, from a physiology and psychology point of view, everyone has anxiety. It's part of human. Opposite of anxiety is calm and peace. The person that doesn't have anxiety is probably someone that's our ancestors that's in the restful state in a different world that that they are not alive. So
yeah.
when we understand anxiety as in like it's a state, and I still experience it, and but I have tools that I can overcome and to control it. For example, if I'm getting on stage, so I'm getting to speak a bit more now at the festival, at exhibition, I do get like anxious, um, but I can manage it with my breath, with tapping, and I can regulate it to a more exciting and more powerful experience, and that really helped.
So would you say learning the proper breath technique then, the breathing, was that one of the main factors that helped you overcome your anxiety?
Yes, breathwork overall has been really tremendously helpful. That is one key. Um, Another one is nervous system regulation. So the reason that breath is so powerful is that because our body naturally has a so in our nervous system there's something called the vagal brake. So this brake is almost like the bicycle brake. Um, so in our nervous system we have like really high energy and low energy, and then it fluctuates in between. So then it helps us to deal with like stress. So when we're stressed, the energy goes a little bit higher, we're a little bit heightened, and that gets us more alert, more awake, more focused. And then after that, the stressful event has passed and the energy comes down. A lot of time people don't have that. So this is when the vagal brake comes in, and then it brake. Okay, your bike stop, and then your nervous system say, okay, stop. That's rest, and then your energy comes down. But a lot of people lose that ability to do the brake
Ah, okay.
naturally, and that's when the breath work and other nervous system reset. Like it can be EMDR, like the rapid eye movement, can be tapping, can be spinal movement. Any of that can work on the vagus brake and then bring it down. So ideally, we want the nervous system that is flexible. We don't want to be peaceful all the time, because I mean we're in heaven or hell somewhere else that's not living in the world. So you want something that is flexible, that has the window of tolerance. So when you practice breath work on the other nervous system technique, it actually widens your tolerance, like window of tolerance. So you have more flexibility going up and down, and then it's easier for you to bounce back when you're low energy or high energy. So yeah, I think the key for overcoming anxiety, one of it's through breath, but through nervous system regulation, and also understanding that this is how our nervous system works. It has all been really helpful.
Yeah, in fact, that's something I'm working on right now for my personal journey, nervous system regulation and replacing This is something I read recently too, that your nervous system actually stores this energy. So if you've got a lot of anxiety that's been building up over days, weeks, months, years, your nervous system stores that. So you've got to, in my case, release it all so that you can rebuild, for lack of a better term, your nervous system. And so that's something I've been working on. That's huge, yeah. Claire, is there any like special highlights from your book that you want to share with our audience? Any like, you know, things that you would really point out from the book or anything like that?
Um, yes, the book it's a mix of stories and it's also like tools on how we can change our experiences and change our identity relating to trauma. Um, I think the key to overcoming the shit, one of it is the nervous system, and another one I really want to highlight is the belief system that we have. So the belief system that we have of ourselves, of our society, of the people around us, and that is something that doesn't change overnight. That's something that has to do a lot with our identity of who we are, of our all the things that we've learned from our upbringing, and also the self trust and faith that we have for ourselves. So, um, in some way or another, like when people are on their healing journey, it's important to have something that can support you that's bigger than you. That is something Mm, that is more like it can be anything for each person because everyone has different religion, different practices.
Sure.
It's good to have something that's bigger than you that supports you to help you to have faith in overcoming, anything, any shit that has happened. Yeah, so this is where I want to really emphasize is that it's not just a journey by yourself. I think it's a journey um, that actually requires support from something that is bigger than you, and that could be anything. I mean, that could be anything for other people. For me, it's the spiritual practice that I have um, throughout my recovery. So that it's interesting because for me, my spiritual practice changes, and I don't have particularly a religion that I practice. But because throughout my healing, I have my spiritual teachers in Ayurveda, in the Hindu gods, in Buddhism. Yeah. So I get to choose those, spirit to help me, to support me. And it's a matter of finding what spiritual practice that works for you to help support you on the journey.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of all of the above that you just mentioned in my journey. Claire, is there anything else that you would like to mention that you haven't had a chance to say today about anything at all?
Yes, yes. Oh, of course. Yeah. So, yeah, the Get Over Your Shit is yeah, I'm writing it and it's coming out
Yeah.
next early next year, hopefully in February. And other than the book, actually, because of my practice in breath work, I even created a breathing necklace and other functional jewelry that help people to slow down their breathing. So that's the reason that I built Breathe into Peace. So this is actually one of our product. I don't know if you can see it on the
I
in the
can.
audio, but
I saw it on one of your videos too. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah.
yes,
Well,
yeah.
real quick, how can people find you? Do you have a website? How can they order some of these products?
Yes, yeah. So you can find me on breatheintopeace.com. We're on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And yeah, everything is on our website. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Claire at breatheintopeace.com.
All right. Claire, thank you so much for being here. This has been amazing. Anyone listening, please share this episode. Anxiety is such a critical issue getting over your shit, so to speak, whatever causes that, so that you can move on with your life, so that you can thrive in life. I know I've dealt with anxiety a lot. Some we'll have another chance, maybe Claire. I'll tell you how I worked through my anxiety. It might surprise you because I didn't know breath work or a whole lot of that, but anyway, yeah, if you're listening and you got something out of this episode, please share it far and wide. The more people that we can reach and help overcome anxiety, the better. Claire is an excellent resource. I'll put all her contact information in the show notes. If you wouldn't mind also leaving me a review on Apple or Spotify, I would sure appreciate that as well. That would be super. Thanks everyone for joining us and being here today. Claire, thank you so much. And until next time, everyone, live happy, healthy, and inspired. We'll see ya. We'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.